Good day. Welcome to this Living a You-Filled Life podcast, episode number 3, I think it is. Should probably look at that before I get on these things, eh? Anyways, I'm Fola, your lovely host, and I'm so glad that you could join me again for another, what I hope will be an enlightening episode. Today we are talking about perfectionism, and I feel that this is an area that's really rampant for all of us since we were young. Always being expected to look a certain way and dress in certain clothing, have our hair done perfectly, get perfect grades, get on this basketball team or get that lead role in this audition and all that nonsense. And yeah, so whatever it might be, it might be like that it just continues until we're older, well into our adulthood. So if we're not really aware of this whole perfectionism bug that's been so ingrained in us, it can prove to be quite difficult to live life to the fullest, I think. And, the reason I wanted to talk about this was just over the last week and a bit, I was kind of going through some stressful stuff. I feel like there's some huge transitions happening for me right now, and I think that's the case for all of us. September, start of school, all that stuff. There's something going on. My daughter starts school here tomorrow, basically. So it's just a lot, right? And yeah, what happened for me, it just really kind of made me realize, wow, look how much I worry about being perfect, and for me, like right now, I've been thinking about making the next steps in my career. What am I supposed to be doing? Sometimes I've kind of wondered, like, am I really truly living the life that I meant to live, living out like in alignment with like my soul purpose, and um, because I feel like I know what that is. And I think most of us have some idea. And for those who don't, I encourage you, I'm going to be coming out with a meditation on connecting to that higher self part of you that can really start to communicate more. This is how and why you're here and what you need to be doing in your life. And there's always that ability to connect there. So I've been currently like just facing, what do I want to do? What are my options? Um, what's guided me in my life to things that I've, applied for in terms of jobs. And so I've been looking for some other opportunities, and I did. And basically, what happened is I applied for this job, and all these things were supposed to happen, and make a presentation for the interviewers and present on this topic. So I'm like, I'm like, okay, this will be good, right? I feel like it's in alignment with me. I'm educating now, like in my like other job, side job, I call it, working within mental health. And maybe this is meant to be, like I'm starting to like feed myself all these answers and um, kind of like come up with the excuses, if I can call it that, for myself. So this whole thing came about where I found out someone else applied for the same position. And as soon as I found out about this, I was like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? Like my head was just like, you like there's no way you're gonna make this. Like there's no way you are even remotely as like close to becoming a success in your life, and like now you want to go and like give this presentation to these people, like how dare you, and this has to be the best presentation that you've ever given in your entire life. Like these are all my like ego mind go just my ego mind like boom boom boom, days, nights of like just anxiety, believe it or not. And I know a lot of people that know me personally, and I think even probably you hear me talking, you maybe don't think that I'm necessarily anxious, but sometimes I do get these thought streams just pouring. And one thing that I've learned is it's not necessarily anxiety in the like mental health labeling way of anxiety. I see it as like just energy inside of us, like really wanting to like move. And I also see the ruminating thoughts as like the ego, which its job is to protect us. It's just trying to like ensure that we are safe and staying in our comfort zone, right? So back to the story, here I am just trying to like figure out what exactly do I do? Like here's my feminine side trying to use the inspiration and like creativity and just be super intuitive and just let like everything flow. But my mind is in natural perfectionism mode, being like, you have to be masculine and rev it up. Do this, do this, do this, like plan it. And of course, as soon as I start doing that, then I begin to notice that I am procrastinating a bit more and just obviously getting quite overwhelmed. So, you know, whatever. I try to check in, but sometimes I feel like it's just really hard. We get so much in this like spiral that no matter what, you can't get yourself out. And so just learning to be present with that can really help. Just allowing yourself and being aware that, hey, this is what's happening. Like, it's okay. Even though I'm losing my shit, like, I'm going to be okay. And of course, having people in your life to support you is always a bonus when it comes to this matter. Like, I message some people that I know, talk to my coach, and just like put it out there that, hey, like I'm struggling with this. I need some help. Anyway, so long story short, interview's done. Like, thank goodness. That was so good to be able to just complete it. And I realized as even as the interview was happening, how much I had created all these kind of false sense of and all these false expectations of what needed to happen and what it was going to look like, because my mind like is just so limited, right? Our minds, really, we just have the perception of like our eyes, of our senses, what we know, what we've experienced in the past. And so I really encourage you to take what you're perceiving and realize that, hey, this is just like one lens that's really been sometimes clouded by all of the junk from our past, all the junk from like society and family telling us to be and act a certain way and to be this perfect little like person. And that still, we carry it a lot, right? And we fail then to see the bigger picture of things. And like one example of that is like in this interview, it's supposed to be only a certain amount of time as per their guidelines. And for some reason, I was just so stuck on having the presentation be exactly, it had to be less than or exactly that time. And when we get to the interview, I about to present, and I'm like, is someone going to keep track of the time? And they just kind of looked at me like, oh, like I guess so, But it's like clearly it didn't matter, right? As long as I wasn't like an hour versus the like 15 minutes, right? So it's just so funny how we can create all this stuff in our life and how it can really impact us. So I just really realized that not only am I going through years of like all these expectations, all these judgments, of like even all the times I'd given presentations in my life. I'm almost 33 years old. Like, I'm just comparing myself to other people who are interviewing and, people that I think would do so much better than I would and what I see them to be presenting as, right? But really, when it comes down to it, and I really should praise myself because in my presentation, I really touched on being self-compassionate, showing compassion to my own self. And this is something that even you, as the listeners, I encourage you to start to look at. Where in your life is it that maybe you're holding these perfectionist thoughts, but you could begin to address yourself with a bit more self-compassion and just realize that, maybe there's some fears around being unworthy or feeling like you're not enough, right? I'm not saying that by just facing all this that it's just going to go away, because I don't really think that it does. I feel like evolutionary, we're meant to like always want to strive for the best, right? And for survival. That's how we are like ingrained in our DNA. But the difference really is that, like, in today's day and age, for most of us, I'd like to say, there is no need to have to worry about that survival, right? Like, we can provide safely for ourselves. I know that's not the case for everyone, but compared to our, like, ancestors and Neanderthals and, those types of things, like, we are in this place where we're going to still have fear, but a lot of it, again, is just like that false evidence appearing real. We think it's something, but when in reality, it's not. And something I learned from this whole process as well that I think really is, it's definitely not something we're taught in school, is that whole concept of competition. We're told, like, you have to get this grade and that, and if you don't get that, you're going to be cut from this area and not have these certain opportunities. And I don't really feel like there is a competition. And we've just been told there is, for, like, again, a sense of like fear and to get us to do and be certain ways, right? I think that competition is just like the part of that matrix we've created, this illusion that we can continue to live in if we choose. Or we can also choose to step out of those constructs and begin to live the life that we want. And when it comes down to it, like me and the other people applying for this job, it's like in the end, there is no true competition about it. It's like whoever gets there is the one that's meant to get there. And wherever the other people end up being, that's where we're supposed to be, right? Like, it's just being okay and having that faith. And a mantra that I've been saying to myself, oh, and I wish I could remember where I heard it from originally. So if it was from you, please let me know. But I'd love to give you credit for it. It's that I'm taking a leap of faith in the direction of my dreams. And to me, that is truly what I feel this whole living a you-filled life is about. Us stepping into the dreams, stepping into our soul purpose, that place that truly makes us happy. And just trusting that there is no competition, that the universe, again, is conspiring for us. And that ultimately, the universe, spirit, God, knows the best place for you and where your gifts need to be in this world. And so I just ask you really to look into your life, see where it is that you're striving, that you need to be and act a certain way and show this perfection, and see if you're okay, just even if it's in your mind's eye, imagining a scenario where it's like the worst case scenario. And allow yourself to play that out, like to the end, kind of. Just be like, okay, I played out to these are the worst things that I think could possibly happen. And you might have some type of emotional reaction, some fears around that. If you can just remind yourself that you're safe, it's just an exercise of you visualizing. Everything's going to be okay. Just be gentle with yourself. See kind of what comes up for you. And when you've done that, it almost allows then for you to be okay with, hey, this might be an outcome. I've played it out. I've seen it to the end, and it's okay. Even though if that means, I'm like worst case scenario, you're thinking about something where it's like I could be without money, which means I could be without my house and a place to stay and all these things. It's like, really, if you can think that far, then you can begin to then shift it to, well, if that does happen, maybe you can trust that something else would come up for you. whether it's like, well, I have family here I could stay with, or all these other opportunities, right? So just know and trust that the universe is conspiring for you, and that you're here to live this life where you're expressing who it is you truly are, and you're living your gifts and sharing those gifts with the world, and you're loving yourself and being compassionate with yourself and taking part in self-care in as many ways as you can. And one thing I read about in search of all this stuff on self-compassion was from that self-compassion website by this Dr. Christine Neff. And they just tell us to accept like the suffering and to acknowledge that state that you're in, or that pain, emotional or physical, whatever it might be, and that you just be open with the feelings of the pain and just trust that, like, hey, this is part of the human experience I'm going through, and that others too are going through it. Like, I go through this clearly, as you can hear from my story. Your parents, your siblings, your coworkers, your boss, everyone is going through some form of a battle within themselves to be the most perfect versions. So once you can acknowledge that, you'll start to even see them through a different light, and just wish them well and wish yourself well. I love saying, like, may I know like true peace, may I be well, may I be happy. You can say those same things towards those people in your life. And it's even more powerful when you say it to people that maybe you really don't agree with. And that's all part of that like meditation, and just really putting love out and love to yourself in these positive statements. So try some of these techniques. Let me know how you find them. I really encourage you to continue to step out into this world in your true self. And if you aren't sure about how you can go about doing that, feel free to send me a message. If you're not in our Facebook group, Living a You-Filled Life, I encourage you to check that out. Also, again, just an offering, I am currently doing some shamanic coaching with people for free. This is part of a practicum. I need to gather so many hours before they will allow me to actually like charge people for sessions as a shamanic coach. And I feel like I've mentioned this maybe a few times, but shamanism has just been a really powerful tool for myself. I'm sure not in just this lifetime, but I just find it so healing, and it touches on all the aspects of my life, including that of my family around. And I've noticed changes in my family over the last couple years since I've been involved in the shaman practice. So using a variety of techniques like drumming, where we kind of lead you through drum journeys and altered states to access different parts of you, and to help support you in releasing any limiting beliefs or anxieties, worries, thought patterns, and just clearing away from anything that no longer serves you. And also bringing in a bit more of your own power and intuition, just really connecting you deeper to that inner knowing that you already have and you've always had it. It's just a matter now of kind of reigniting it, because I think, again, based on how we've been raised and how we've lived our lives, kind of always in this fear or this need to make other people happy about our decisions, we've kind of lost touch with some of that. So yeah, if you feel at all interested in doing that, send a message to myself, Fola Veritas, on Facebook. Leave a comment here, and it's some way in which I can contact you. And I might even put a link to the scheduling, because I have just certain days that I'm doing this with people over Skype or Zoom, so majority online. But don't let that be a limitation for you. If you feel you'd like, this really is calling to you, then just let me know and we will figure something out. So yeah, Until then, I thank you for listening, and don't forget to share this video with all those lovely people that you know, and let's just all continue to live this wonderful you-filled life where we feel empowered and amazing. So, yeah, take care.